Rain battered the streets of the city, the droplets splattering against the worn cobblestones in a relentless, rhythmic onslaught. Centuries-old buildings, cloaked in shadows, huddled under the violent storm. In the heart of the city, a figure draped in a long, tattered cloak stood atop the city hall, overlooking his responsibility one last time, the city he had protected for centuries. He was the Guardian. His once vibrant eyes, now dimmed with time, were etched with perpetual exhaustion that decades of rest could not cure. He had fought off the Temple of Dam, a relentless cabal, hell-bent on plunging the world into another era of darkness. His battles, epic and terrifying, had drained him. He was but a flickering wick in the vast darkness now. Within him pulsed the Relic, a potent source of ancient magic that lent him his powers. It had been his heart, his soul, his life force. Now it was a ticking time bomb. If the Relic's energy ran out before he could find a successor, it would be lost forever, and the city would be defenseless. Fate, however, seemed to have one last card to play. In the city's underbelly, where the bright city lights were a distant echo, an ex-thug named Mick, freshly released from the city jail, staggered out of a grimy bar, riddled with guilt and a strong buzz. The past had its clutches on him, but Mick yearned for change, a spark of redemption. Tonight he was drunk, but determined. Caught in the sudden downpour, Mick sought shelter in a narrow alley. A glow, a soft luminescence caught his eyes, emanating from a far corner of the alley. He found the Guardian slumped against the brick wall, the Relic faintly pulsating. Who are you?" Mick asked, struggling to comprehend the sight before him. The Guardian gazed at him with his exhausted eyes, a dying light looking for a fresh wick. Mick knelt beside the Guardian, his eyes drawn to the Relic. "What's this all about?" "It's about saving the world, son," the Guardian coughed, extending his hand with the Relic. "Will you accept this burden? Will you fight?" Mick hesitated, staring at the Relic. He was no hero, just a former thug with a battered conscience. Yet within him a new resolve kindled. He wanted to change, and here was his chance, a calling far greater than himself. Mick swallowed hard, reaching out to clasp the Guardian's hand. I'll try." In the next moment, an overwhelming surge of energy coursed through Mick's veins. His vision blurred, his senses amplified. As the Relic merged with him, he fell unconscious, overwhelmed by the onslaught. As the rain pelted down on the city, Mick awoke to a new dawn, the Relic now a part of him, throbbing in rhythm with his heart. The Guardian was gone, his duty done, leaving Mick alone with his newfound purpose. Fear gnawed at his courage, but the image of the Guardian, frail yet resilient, fueled him. With a newfound strength, he rose to his feet, determination set in his gaze. The darkness was vast, the challenge monumental, but Mick was ready. He had a city to protect, a legacy to uphold, and a destiny to fulfill. And so began the saga of the new Guardian. As the city slept, unaware of its silent savior, Mick braced himself for the battles to come. He had to learn quickly to harness this force within him and wield it as a weapon. Though his past was filled with violence and chaos, it had inadvertently prepared him for the physical demands of his new role. The Relic, however, was something else altogether. As if responding to his thoughts, the Relic pulsed, flooding Mick's mind with centuries-old wisdom, tactics, and knowledge. It was overwhelming yet enlightening, the onslaught of information making his head spin. Images of past Guardians flickered in his mind, their victories, their losses, each one leaving behind a lesson to be learned. One name resounded in his mind more than others: the Temple of Dam. Mick could feel the menace it presented, a dark force itching to seize the world once again. Its previous attempts, thwarted by past Guardians, had left a trail of devastation behind. Mick knew his purpose now. He was the city's only defense against this looming catastrophe. The days turned into weeks as Mick trained, mastering his newfound abilities and preparing for the inevitable showdown. He experienced the city as never before, the Relic allowing him to tap into the very soul of the urban sprawl, to feel its joys, its fears, its pain. Simultaneously, the Temple of Dam was stirring, their dark rituals becoming more frequent, their power growing. Unknown to Mick, he had already attracted the attention of the temple's high priest, Marrok. Marrok had sensed the transition of power from the old Guardian, and his cruel eyes gleamed with anticipation. It was time to challenge this new Guardian, to strike when he was still nascent, still learning. Mick could feel the unease in the city, the palpable dread that hung in the air. Even though he was still finding his footing, he knew he could not wait. He had to act. In a secluded part of the city, a ceremony was taking place. A gathering of robed figures chanting in an ancient, forgotten language, a sacrificial pyre in their midst. It was a sight that would have sent chills down the spine of the bravest warrior. For Mick, it was a call to arms. Drawing on the knowledge of the past guardians and the power of the relic, Mick launched himself into the fray, his every instinct screaming danger. Yet he didn't falter. This was his purpose, his redemption, his path to salvation. The battle was fierce, the temple's minions relentless. But Mick was the guardian now, the city's protector, and he would not let it fall. The fight against Marrok was brutal, pushing Mick to the brink. He could see the surprise in Marrok's eyes, this new guardian proving a formidable opponent. But Marrok was not ready to concede. He would throw everything at Mick, fully intending to break him. The city held its breath, the fate of its citizens hanging in the balance. This was just the beginning. A new era of battles, of victories and losses had begun. As the sun rose, a weary but victorious Mick stood amidst the carnage, Marrok retreating to nurse his wounds and plan his vengeance. The first battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The city had a new guardian, and Mick, the ex-thug, had found his purpose, his redemption, and a destiny to fulfill. With every beat of his heart, the relic pulsed, a constant reminder of his vow. The path ahead was treacherous, fraught with danger and uncertainty, but Mick was ready. He was the guardian now, and he would fight till his last breath. The newfound calm didn't last long. Marrok, licking his wounds in the shadows, seethed with rage, his hatred for the new guardian festering. His defeat was a reminder of the power the relic held, a power that had been snatched from his grasp too many times. He had to strike back, and soon. Meanwhile, Mick grew accustomed to his role, balancing his new responsibilities and training with an attempt at maintaining a semblance of his old life. He found comfort in the familiar streets and faces, the city's pulse echoing in his heart, reminding him of what he was fighting for. He also found solace in an unexpected friendship with Lily, the owner of the city library, who unknowingly aided Mick with her vast knowledge of the city's history and lore. Little by little, the city began to heal, its people oblivious to the forces working in their favor. Despite the lull, Mick knew better than to let his guard down. Every fiber of his being was attuned to the city, his senses constantly alert for any signs of the Temple of Dam. The sense of foreboding lingered, a ghostly whisper in the back of his mind. And then, one day, the peace was shattered. The Temple of Dam struck again, this time with a force more potent than before. Unleashing dark creatures from the city's forgotten depths, Marrok orchestrated chaos in every corner of the city. The city cried out, and Mick felt every shriek, every plea for help like a blade to his heart. He had to act fast. Summoning all his strength, Mick jumped into the chaos, battling the dark creatures with a fury that surprised even him. Each beast he felled, each innocent he saved, fed his resolve. But the sheer number of enemies threatened to overwhelm him. He was one against an army, his powers not yet fully harnessed, his inexperience an Achilles' heel. Back at the library, Lily sensed the sudden chaos. She had no knowledge of Mick's true identity, but an inexplicable worry for him gnawed at her. As she raced through the chaotic streets seeking him, she stumbled upon one of Mick's battles. The sight was surreal. Mick, the quiet regular from her library, was now a beacon of light against the darkness, fighting with a ferocity she never imagined. His struggle, his bravery, the imminent danger, it all came crashing down on Lily. She was terrified, but she couldn't turn her back on him. Drawing on her courage, she dove into the chaos, helping trapped citizens, offering distractions when Mick needed it, doing whatever she could to lessen his burden. Their unspoken teamwork started turning the tide. Mick, fueled by Lily's bravery and the city's undying hope, battled with renewed vigor. His heart echoed with the city's heartbeat, each pulse of the relic strengthening his resolve. The fight was grueling, the night seemed endless, but Mick was relentless. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the dark sky, Mick landed the final blow, forcing the remaining creatures to retreat back into the depths. He collapsed onto his knees, drained but victorious. The city was safe for now. Lily ran up to him, her eyes filled with worry and awe. Her city librarian was the Guardian, a hero from the shadows. But there was no time for questions. Mick needed help. As she helped him stand, their eyes met. A new chapter in their lives was beginning, full of promises and perils. They were in it together until the end. The Guardian was not alone anymore. His fight was their fight. The city had its heroes, and they were ready for whatever was coming. The Temple of Dam had been held back once more. As days turned into weeks, Mick and Lily found a rhythm in their new reality. The chaos had died down, and the city was recovering, its heartbeat strong as ever. For Mick, every day was a challenge, a test. For Lily, every day was a revelation, filled with fear and admiration. Their bond deepened, their trust solidifying as they faced each threat together. Marrok, seething in the shadows, began to sense this change. He saw the strength in their unity, a potent force that could thwart his plans again. His rage was now tainted with fear, the new guardian proving to be more resilient than he had anticipated. He knew he needed a new strategy, a way to break their bond. He turned to the dark depths of the Temple of Dam, seeking answers in its ancient lore. There he found his answer, the Elysium's Tear, a cursed gem capable of turning love into despair, trust into betrayal. With this, he planned to drive a wedge between Mick and Lily to weaken the Guardian. Unaware of the storm brewing in the shadows, Mick and Lily continued their fight, their resolve unwavering. They navigated their newfound relationship, their roles as the city's protectors, and the personal fears that came with it. Their lives were a strange mix of ordinary moments and extraordinary battles, love and war coexisting in their world. Then came the day when Marrok set his plan into motion. The Elysium's Tear materialized in the city, hidden in plain sight, radiating a dark aura that only Mick could sense. Sensing the threat, Mick sought the cursed gem, Lily at his side, their mission clear: they had to destroy it. As they closed in on the Elysium's Tear, the curse took effect. Paranoia, mistrust, and fear clouded their thoughts, turning them against each other. Their bond strained as harsh words were exchanged, their unity threatened by an unseen force. With each passing moment, the Elysium's Tear fed off their despair, growing stronger. Even amidst their internal chaos, they realized the curse's influence. Their bond, their trust, had been real, and they had to fight to preserve it. It was no longer just about the city, it was about them too. The final battle against the Elysium's Tear was a test of their resolve, their love for each other, and their city. As they stood together, the relic pulsed within Mick, echoing with their combined determination. The fight was brutal, the curse testing their mental and emotional strength, but they held on, their belief in each other, their love, acting as their shield. With a surge of energy, Mick unleashed the full power of the relic, aiming it at the Elysium's Tear. The explosion of light was blinding, the shockwave rippling through the city, and when the dust settled, the Elysium's Tear was gone. The curse lifted. They had won. Mick and Lily, the city's guardians, had thwarted Marrok's plan once again. But it came at a cost. They had faced their fears, their insecurities, and while they had emerged victorious, they knew this was just the beginning. Marrok, despite his defeat, smirked in the shadows. The Guardian had shown his true power, revealing the relic's capabilities. Marrok had lost the battle, but the war was far from over. He now had crucial knowledge, and he would use it to his advantage. Back in the city, Mick and Lily stood amidst the cheers, their hearts brimming with love for each other and their city. The battles were going to be harder, the stakes higher, but they were ready. They were the city's guardians, and they would stand together, come what may. Their routine resumed, the ordinary moments becoming precious breaks from their extraordinary responsibilities. Lily's library became a sanctuary, a haven for them amidst the chaos, the city's history and lore providing solace and answers. Yet the silence never lasted. The city's peace was punctuated by moments of terror, dark creatures, and sinister plots, all orchestrated by Marrok. With each attack, Mick's control over the relic improved, his connection with the city deepening. Lily, on the other hand, used her knowledge and intelligence to strategize, to decipher Marrok's plans, becoming an indispensable ally in their fight. In the shadowy corridors of the Temple of Dam, Marrok was growing desperate. Each failure fueled his anger, his lust for power turning into an obsession. He had tasted defeat too many times. His next strike, he decided, would be his masterstroke. He delved deeper into the temple's lore, discovering a forgotten prophecy, the Day of Eclipse. On this day, when the sun would be shrouded by darkness, the city's soul would be vulnerable, ripe for taking. Marrok began planning his final assault, intending to seize the city and plunge the world into another dark age. Mick and Lily, oblivious to Marrok's intentions, continued their fight, their determination unwavering. The city's heartbeat echoed within Mick, a constant reminder of his vow. The ordinary moments with Lily, their shared laughter, quiet conversations, and peaceful silences, were his source of strength, his solace amidst the storm. The city felt it first. An unease settled over the urban sprawl, a silent whisper of the storm to come. The day of eclipse was approaching, and with it the biggest battle of their lives. Mick could feel it, the relic resonating with the city's anxiety. With Lily by his side, he delved into the city's depths, seeking answers in its history, its stories. The day of eclipse was more than just a celestial event. It was a day of reckoning, of the ultimate battle between good and evil. As the city's guardians, it was their responsibility to prevent the prophecy from coming true. The battle lines were drawn. Marrok, empowered by the approaching eclipse, summoned his dark forces, the city's skyline marred by his ominous presence. Mick and Lily stood their ground, their love for each other and their city their driving force. This was the battle they had been preparing for, the final stand. As the city held its breath, the war began. It was a fight like no other, the forces of good and evil clashing under the darkened sun. Mick, tapping into the relic's power, fought with everything he had. Lily, using her knowledge and wit, provided crucial support, her bravery shining bright in the darkness. Marrok, watching the battle unfold, felt a flicker of doubt. This new guardian was unlike any he had encountered. His strength, his resolve, and the unyielding support from Lily were forces to be reckoned with. The battle raged on, the city's fate hanging in the balance. The day of eclipse was here, and it was the city's darkest hour. But as long as they had the guardian, they had hope. This was the moment Mick and Lily had prepared for, the moment they would defend their city till their last breath. The fate of the city was in their hands, the prophecy of doom looming over them. But they were not afraid. They had each other. They had the city, and they had the will to fight. The battle was far from over, and they were ready. The Guardian would protect the city today and every day that followed. The city skyline darkened further as the eclipse reached its zenith. Mick and Lily stood at the forefront, their hearts echoing with the city's pulsating fear and hope. Marrok unleashed his strongest forces, his eyes gleaming with anticipation of his imminent victory. But Mick and Lily held their ground. Mick, drawing on the relic's power, transformed into a beacon of hope, his form radiating pure, blinding light. Lily, at his side, coordinated their defense, her intelligence and strategic mind proving to be as powerful as any weapon. The battle intensified. Mick's light clashed with Marrok's darkness, a cataclysmic struggle that shook the very foundations of the city. Every swing, every impact was a testament to their will, their determination to protect their home. As the eclipse began to recede, Mick seized the opportunity. He summoned all his strength, the relic resonating with his unwavering resolve. With a deafening roar, he unleashed a surge of energy, a wave of pure, unadulterated power. It coursed through the city, confronting Marrok's darkness, challenging it. The darkness faltered, recoiling from the brilliant light. The balance shifted, and for the first time, Marrok felt a sense of impending defeat. The Guardian's power was more potent than he'd imagined, his resolve stronger than any he'd encountered. In the final moments of the eclipse, Mick delivered the final blow. The light surged forward, banishing the darkness, cleansing the city of Marrok's influence. The darkness receded, driven back into the depths from where it had crawled out. Marrok, defeated and weakened, vanished into the shadows, his ambition of a dark age thwarted. He had underestimated the Guardian, underestimated the power of love and unity. But the war was far from over. He would wait, recuperate, and strike when they least expected. In the aftermath of the battle, the city breathed a sigh of relief. The day of eclipse had passed, the prophecy averted. Their guardian had prevailed, his light shining brighter than ever. The city was safe for now. Mick and Lily, their bodies exhausted but spirits unbroken, stood amidst the cheering city. Their love for each other had triumphed, their unity prevailing against the darkness. Their bond had been tested, their will stretched to its limit, but they had emerged victorious. As the eclipse's shadow lifted, the city began to heal. The ordinary moments resumed, punctuated by small victories and peaceful days. The battle scars faded, replaced by stories of courage and resilience. The Guardian and his ally were celebrated, their tale of love and bravery becoming a beacon of hope. However, in the shadows, evil still lurked. Marrok's defeat was a setback, but his ambition was far from extinguished. He He would rise again, stronger and more cunning. But the city would be ready. The Guardian would be ready. Mick and Lily, hand in hand, looked over their city. The challenges ahead were daunting, but they had each other, their love a source of strength. They were the guardians of the city, the light against the darkness. No matter what the future held, they were ready. Their story was far from over. As Mick and Lily stood hand in hand, watching the sun rise over their city, they felt a sense of peace wash over them. They had defeated Marrok and his dark forces, at least for now, and their city was safe once again. Yet, as they turned to leave, the relic in Mick's grasp suddenly hummed with an intensity they hadn't felt before. Its soft, comforting glow flickered ominously, sending a shiver of unease down their spines. They exchanged a look of concern. Was this a new threat? Or was Marrok already making his move, much sooner than they had expected? Mick clutched the relic tightly, the chill of anticipation settling in his heart. He could feel the city, the buildings, streets, and every soul residing within it share his unease. Suddenly a tremor ran through the city, rattling the skyscrapers and stirring a gust of wind. It wasn't a natural earthquake. This was something else, something more sinister. In the distance, a deafening roar echoed through the city, an ominous sound that chilled their blood. The city held its breath, bracing itself for the impending chaos. Mick and Lily stood their ground, their determination unwavering. They were the guardians of the city, and they would stand against whatever darkness was coming. As they looked out towards the direction of the roar, an immense shadow began to rise from the depths of the city. Its shape was formless, dark, and terrifying, larger and more terrifying than anything they had faced before. As the shadow towered over the city, they felt a wave of dread wash over them. Marrok's defeat had been a setback, but it was clear now that the war was far from over. A new darkness was rising, and it was unlike anything they had ever faced. Their fight was far from over. Their journey was only beginning. And as the dawn gave way to a day marked by an ominous shadow, the Guardians knew they had to prepare. For the biggest battle of their lives was about to begin. To be continued. Hey everyone, welcome to our channel. We're so excited to have you here and share our content with you. If you're new here, make sure to click that subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and we can't wait to see you in the next video.